The Marino Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Marino Show. I'm your host, David Marino. You will probably recognize the two people I'm interviewing today. They are veteran Austin journalists, Judy Maggio and Leslie Rode. They have formed ATX Good News. It's a movement aimed at sharing positive, inspirational, and uplifting stories, and also shining a light on the unsung heroes in our Austin community. Judy and Leslie, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Well, I was so excited to see what you're doing. I've been following your social media channels, and if ever there's a time that we need some uplifting news, I think now is the time. Can you talk to me about what the inspiration was behind starting ATX Good News, and what exactly is it for the viewers who are watching?
Well, I can start. Basically, Leslie and I, because we spent so many years in television news, we miss storytelling. And one of the things that we thought was always missing from local news is some of the inspirational good news stories, the stories about, people collectively being compassionate with one another and helping one another, and the nonprofits out there doing good works and finding solutions to some community issues in a positive way, like hunger and homelessness and things like that. So we got together and decided that perhaps tapping into social media and providing a place that in the world of social media, where a lot of things are negative, people knew they could come to our site and find local stories about people doing good works in the community and in a way shine a light on the best of humanity in Central Texas.
And I echo that. Judy and I really got to know each other after we left our television stations. We were competitors for a while, but then we became really best of friends. And just as we got to know each other, we realized we both really, really wanted to tell these positive type stories. And then here comes COVID, and here comes everything that happened after that. And I think there was a true calling to get out there and remind people of the good in our community. Because if all we hear about is the negative and the bad, and if we're surrounded by that, then that's really what we start thinking and believing that that's all that exists. So this is really sort of a movement, we like to call it, to help people not only just celebrate people doing good things and loving their neighbors, but actually notice the good that's out there.
And perhaps be inspired to make positive contributions in our community themselves. Perhaps maybe if they see someone doing good works, volunteering for a nonprofit, for example, they'll go, oh, I'd like to deliver Meals on Wheels, or I'd like to tutor kids at a school in a low-income area that maybe didn't have the resources that they need. Any kind of thing like that would be a way you can give back to the community. So we hope that's part of that movement. It's like inspiring others when they see people doing good works in the community.
When did you all actually start the channel? Was it during COVID?
No. Go ahead, Leslie, you start on that one.
Yeah, I think, Judy, it was in January of this year, correct? It was January. So we talked about this for close to a year before we actually got it started. There was all the plans, and I'm sure you've been through this a little bit with your show. You think about things you want to do for a while, and you plan and you plan and you plan. But really, there's a point when you just have to jump in with 2 feet. And that's sort of what we did. One day, we got together and we went on Facebook and we just told everybody, this is what we're going to do. And we were amazed at the response. I mean, people really wanted to not only hear about good news, but they wanted to tell us about good news. And so we started getting emails from people with story ideas. And that's what's happened. It's just kept going and going and going.
And that's been the beauty of it. It's been very rewarding to us because we were on TV for so many years. Lots of times people recognize it when we're out in public, and people come up to us at events or at a restaurant or a coffee shop and go, oh, we just love that you guys are sharing good news. And I always say, send us your story ideas, send it to atxgoodnews@gmail.com, because that's how we get a lot of our stories, is just from people who hear we're doing this and they go, oh, I have this neighbor who, was always, I don't know, mowing other people's lawns for free just to be nice. Just little things like that.
Right. And those things go a long way. And I do believe that people want to see more of that. Were you surprised, both of you? I mean, as coming from news, and I was in news as well, you do cover a lot of the things that aren't always the best, that you see in the community. But for you to see people respond in the way that they have, has it been surprising to you, or has it been even uplifting for yourself? I mean, was part of this also for both of you to sort of see some positivity out there instead of, some of the things that we have been seeing and inundated with on social media over the past couple of years?
Sure. I think there was some selfishness involved. This has been a really challenging time for all of us since COVID started. There has been just a plethora of scary, sad, frightening, disturbing, troubling news. And we never want to downplay the importance of information and journalists finding the truth about what's going on in our world. That's so important. And, we all did that, all three of us, for many years. But this is more of an alternative. It's like it's a place you can go to remind yourself that it's not all dark. There's a lot of light out there. And at their core, most humans are kind. And yes, it has been a little bit of a personal endeavor to remind ourselves that there are so many people in our community doing so many incredible, wonderful things. And sometimes if you focus on joy and joyful things, you feel joyful. And that's kind of the purpose.
They say you are what you eat. Well, you are what you think about. I mean, honestly, and I think selfish is the right word in some ways, but hopefully there's better meaning beyond that for the community as a whole. I went out and covered a story yesterday, and it just made me so happy. I mean, I was getting to be around people who not only, I hope, inspire everybody else, but inspire me to keep, thinking about ways that I can help this community and I can help my neighbor. So it is very important for all of us to find those people in our lives that can continually inspire us to do better.
I know right now, the way it works, y'all do a live show on Friday. Can you talk about what you're doing now and where you want to go in the future? Because you're talking about going out and shooting stories. Is that going to be something that you incorporate more as you move forward instead of just like interviews? Are you going to be putting stories together as well?
Well, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, you want to join our good news team? Because
yeah.
Well, Leslie's right. I mean, we're laughing about it, but really it is just the two of us right now, and we're not videographers. But of course, everybody becomes a videographer when you have one of these. So we have attempted to get out of our comfort zone a little bit. I shot one story, Leslie shot one this week. And we're experimenting with that. So I think that this is ever evolving. We know that the most engagement typically comes from a traditional Facebook post with just pictures. And so meet John Doe. What I think one of our most popular posts was about a teenager from Austin who's living in Berlin in language school before he starts college overseas. And he saw these Ukrainian refugees arriving on the train, and they didn't really have anything warm and hot to eat. So he goes, I'm going to start making tacos. So he enlisted the support of all these students at the language school in Berlin, students from all over the world, this Austin kid, and they're like making 50, 60 tacos and taking them to the Ukrainian refugees arriving at the Berlin train station and writing Ukrainian, like potato, egg, and cheese. So it's little things like that. But yes, we would love to someday have a news team and have photographers and social media experts. But right now, it's just us. We're all of those things in one, and we're enjoying it. And that's the reality of our world today, right? People pretty much produce their own content. So It's kind of a double-edged sword. We'd like producing our content because we have control over it. We know we're putting out there, but at the same time, it would be nice to expand. And we love video storytelling. We love putting together, as we used to call them, the business packages. So yeah, if we could do something in a more expanded version and hire a photographer now and then, that would be great.
I'm in the same boat as both of you. Like, I have to do everything myself. I have Marty and other videographers that I use when I can, but I can shoot to a point. Like, I do it for work and stuff, but I would never call myself a videographer or an expert in that field at all. But I think what you've shown and what I've been trying to do is that you don't have to be the greatest at that stuff now, because I think with social media and having all these different outlets where you can use your phone and you can do different things, you don't have to be like this perfect videographer. It's more about the content and like what you're saying and what you're sharing, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe that as well. And I think our viewers, our good news followers, our good news team, as we like to call them, has proven that, really, because they keep coming. Even if our pictures, like sometimes people will send us a photo, it's not that great, but we use it anyway because it's the content that matters. It's the inspirational content that truly matters.
What's the feedback been like for you? Have you heard from a lot of people that, as you know, you both were on, what KXAN and KVU, the competing stations, but having that sort of, following that you had when you were on television news, I'm sure that has been beneficial for you doing this. And what have you heard from folks?
When we're out and about in public, people comment on that more. It used to be people come up to me and say, I miss you on the news. Or how long were you at KVU and KI? Because I worked at both stations, or they get mixed up and they'll say, I still watch you every day. And I'm like, I've been on the air for about 8 years, but okay. And I was at KLRU for 4 years as well. So yes, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and people are taking notice. I've talked to lots of nonprofit leaders who really have stories that they feel like have never been shared in traditional media. And it may be as simple as, hey, here are the Big Brothers, Big Sisters partners of the month. They've been together for 2 years, and, they've really helped each other, find love in their life. And, just those kinds of things. So yes, it has been overwhelmingly positive. And I think that everybody right now has an appetite for positivity because there's so much negativity out there. So I think it was kind of filling a void. And there are these Facebook and Instagram social media posts that are national, that have a national following, like the Good News movement and Some Good News. So this is just kind of a local version of that. And we want to really remain totally Central Texas because no one else is doing that.
Yeah. And I would just add that, and Judy, I guess it's okay that I say this. I mean, the reaction has been great, but what we're seeing now is sort of a reaction from all of the PR agencies and the ad agencies have noticed us. And now we started getting questions about, how much do you charge for this? And could you consider a sponsor here? And, so we're just moving forward organically day to day and doing what we think is best right now for what we're doing and seeing where it leads us. It's kind of exciting to really not have to have editorial meetings every morning. Remember, guys, how we used to have that every day? Well, we could do it once a week if we want to, or whatever. We are in charge of the content, but we try to keep our content, like we talked about at the beginning, just on inspirational things, people, groups doing good for others.
Ordinary people doing something extraordinary. And yes, it's been interesting because we've gotten publicity. We're on KXAN, we were on Axios Austin, and we're on the Sandy Show, which is a radio show every day on, is it 103.5, the Sandy Show?
80s.
80s music. It's a great show. And of course, you remember JB and Sandy. It's Sandy and his wife, Tricia, and they're wonderful. And so we've developed a relationship with them and have a little newscast on Mondays and Wednesday mornings. So that's been a lot of fun. And we're just, as Leslie said, we're just taking this organically and seeing where it goes. But yes, it's been fun to all of a sudden go, oh, now all the PR agencies are reaching out to us with story ideas. And that's a good thing too. And, it's just like regular news, traditional newsrooms. We're getting our stories from a lot of different sources, from, people we know in the community, from nonprofits, from PR agencies, from people just see a post on our Facebook page and go, oh, I've got a story for, like the knitting group, Leslie. That's a good one.
I love the knitting story. Okay, I'll tell you all first, because this is not happening until tomorrow. Up in Round Rock, a group of people are getting together. They're fiber artists, which we learn through this every day. I've never heard of people who knit as fiber artists, but they are. They're fiber artists, and they're knitting in the middle of a square on Knit in Public Day. So they're knitting to show everyone about their art, but they're also raising awareness and raising money for a few charities that they support. So I don't know why that just touched my heart so much, because my mother used to knit and it was just a part of it. But, that's something that would not be covered in the local news. That it wouldn't be, but it matters much to these people, not only because of their art, but because they're raising money for these groups and helping them. So I think that's super fun to be able to cover stories like that and give them a little bit of attention.
And also not to have like a time limit on it, because
Yes.
news is you got a minute 30, minute 10,
Yeah.
get your intro, your outro, and your package done,
Yeah, and another story that I just keep thinking of stories, but I always was approached about covering the story, and it was like, yeah, we don't have time for in the newscast. But the Texas 4000 has been going on for years, and this is a group of UT students who spend the entire school year raising money for this bike ride from Austin to Anchorage, Alaska, to promote cancer research, to raise money for cancer research, and really raise awareness about cures for cancer in ways we are learning more about cancer every day. So it's really neat. We got shots of these kids taking off on their bikes, all enthusiastic. They've raised all this money and they're going to ride their bikes across the country this summer and end up in Anchorage, Alaska. It's just stories like that just people trying to make the world a better place.
And as, journalists, and being on the air for as long as you were, has this kind of fulfilled something in yourself as well, to be back and doing the storytelling again? Or, I don't know that you all have ever really stopped, because you both kind of stayed doing in some form or another, but is this kind of fulfilling that need? I find it, for me, doing this show has helped me get back into, when I left news, I did miss parts of it. And the biggest part was sharing people's stories and being able to interview people. And so that's why, selfishly, I do this outside of my day job now. It's like I came right back around and doing kind of what I was doing in news, but just on my terms. Do you all feel that way as well?
I think, okay, I'm not going to ask you, don't call it selfish. This is using a gift.
Right.
Okay. This is what we're meant to do, is all three of us, we're storytellers, and this is what we are meant to do. But let's be honest, we love being on the air. Okay, we love being able to tell stories like this. We love, and we're able, we could set up in my kitchen, right? And I can do this, and I think it has been a lot of fun. If I'm really honest, yes, it's been fun. And Judy, I would think that
Oh, absolutely. And I think this was one of the gifts of COVID, is that shows like this became more mainstream, right? It's like even on the network shows, you see people doing, reports from their living room. So this became more normal to people to see, right? A Zoom call recorded like we're doing right now. And yes, it has helped fulfill that need to continue storytelling. We have always been interested in other people's lives and sharing their stories. That's what journalists do. We number one, seek out the truth, try to keep people informed. But number two, all of us have this deep curiosity about what makes other people tick. I know I do. It's like, I want to find out why that person does what he or she does and how that impacts the world around us. And that's really what we're doing, is shining the light on some of the people doing great things and helping their fellow human beings. So yes, it is a very fulfilling thing to do. And we will take selfish out of the equation. Well, let's just say fulfilling. This is a fulfilling job for us to do on our own terms in our own way.
Yeah. And you said that the sky's the limit, Leslie, when it comes to what you're doing now, but where would you like to see ATX Good News go? I mean, obviously more stories that you're seeing from the community, but if in an ideal world, what would you love to see? I think it'd be cool if y'all could have your own little, like a whole station, just good news all day. That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be great? That would be
I would
great.
love that.
And we have Good News team members, so we just have to get more people involved in it, and we can have reporters. We do have our first intern right now. That's exciting, because part of this, I think, is we enjoy teaching others, right, about not only journalism itself, but just about following good news and being in that part of it. But yeah, I would love to have a whole station. It'd be great. Yeah, a few more members of our team, perhaps. The ability to do video storytelling a lot more easily, I think, so really adding to our photographers and the photojournalists who could really come in and help these stories. What about you, Judy? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things that has, caught our attention is that the posts that get the most engagement aren't necessarily posts where Leslie and I do our show. We find that people don't want to sit down for 10 minutes and have us talk about the stories. They'd rather spend 30 seconds reading about the story and liking it and sharing it, So we're trying to find that balance between our desire to be on camera and be together and share these that make us so happy and our hearts filled, also with reaching a number of people. So we're trying to figure out that balance. We were doing our show every Friday. We're not going to be doing as many shows on Friday afternoon just because we're out of time and have other jobs. We also both have our media companies that we run. So it's just finding that balance. But, I think one of the things that would be fun is a podcast, and that might be something easy we could branch out into, and seems to be a popular way, obviously, for people to consume information or consume a show. So that's a possibility down the road as well. We just wish more people would follow us on our YouTube channel, as you probably do too, Dave, and see the shows that we're doing and comment and share those things instead of just the posts on Facebook. But that's okay. We've only been doing this for less than 6 months. So we're not expecting miracles, but it has been heartwarming to know that it's touching people's lives and that they know about it. And that's really the first step in expanding this and growing it.
Now, if people do want to follow you, where are you at? Where can they find you? I know you're on YouTube, Facebook. Just how would they go about doing that?
Everywhere.
We're everywhere. No, we started on Facebook just because that's the platform where most of our connections are. And it was easy for us to live stream through there and everything else. So Facebook, ATX Good News, or ATX Good News Now is what you've got to search on Facebook, which is a little bit different. But the other thing was already taken. We don't understand why. And then Instagram is ATX Good News. And then YouTube, just search ATX Good News as well. And the important thing I think we'd love people to remember is the Gmail, the contact us. You can get on any of those social media platforms and actually send us messages that way. That's great. But we also have an email address that's easy to remember. It's atxgoodnews@gmail.com, atxgoodnews@gmail.com. That's where we get most of our story ideas. And like we've said, it could be everything from a big PR agency that has a client that they're trying to promote, all the way down one person who saw something cool happen on their street, somebody helping it, and they took a video of it. And that's
exactly right. That's exactly. One day I was out walking and I saw a young woman doing roller skating in a parking lot. She was doing all these beautiful moves. And I looked over and the people at the retirement community across the parking lot were standing there watching her. And then I found out that she does this 2 or 3 days a week, that she goes and kind of performs for them and does all these moves and jumps and graceful, dance moves on her skates. And I went, oh, and I videotaped it and talked to her. And, that was one of the stories we did early on. So sometimes it's just, seeing things. And we would love it if more people would do that themselves. It's like, oh, Leslie, one of your friends saw someone helping someone else push a car into a gas station. Is that right?
I think the car had run out of gas, or the person had somehow, but it stalled in the middle of the intersection. And so a friend of mine who was in a car nearby saw it, and some guys who don't know her from Adam jumped out and started pushing her car to help her get out of the street. And just things like that we don't always do, but it takes that sort of inspiration, I think, sometimes to remind us that we need to look for ways to help others.
And I truly believe that, while social media does get a bum rap at times with people saying that it's so much negativity, I really do believe that there's a lot more positive out there. It's just, for whatever reason, it's not always, people don't always share that stuff, or they think it's not important to share. But that's why I appreciate what you both are doing, because those little things create such a ripple effect. Just sharing those one or two pictures, or even like the dancer. And I think that that's really important, because I feel like those things spread faster on social media at times. Those more positive stories, we've seen them, things go viral, and it's usually the good stuff. It's not always the bad stuff,
Absolutely.
So is there anything else that you all want to add about ATX Good News, or anything that you want to get out to the public?
I would just say that, I have been blessed to call Austin home since the late 70s when I came here for college, and now I'm dating myself. But I've always had a love affair with this community, despite the growth, despite the traffic, despite the, problems that any big city faces. I've always felt like I love Austin, kind of like I love a human being. It's part of me, and it's home. And I just am very grateful that there's another way that I can tell the stories about this place that I love, Central Texas, in positive ways, and keep people informed about those aspects of our community at this stage of my life.
I would agree. Judy, you're gonna make me cry. She does that often to me. I would say I had 2 stints in Austin, because I lived here for a while and I worked at KXAN. I moved to DC and I came back. But I haven't been here quite as long, but I do know that I got into local news to be involved in the community and to be able to tell the stories that matter to the people in the community. Not that I didn't respect and love national news, but I always wanted to be in local news, because I think that's what really drives change. I really do. Local news is so important for that reason. And now I'm getting to sort of, both of us are starting, we feel like we're sort of giving back to Austin in this way of promoting some of the good things that happen here. And so that's been really fulfilling to find out.
Well, thank you, Judy and Leslie, for joining me on the Marino Show. And for anyone out there who wants to follow ATX Good News, you can follow their channels on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. We'll see you next time.